Hello, I am back today to talk to you about budgeting. So yesterday we talked about baby step one and saving $1,000 for an emergency fund. And one of the important steps to be able to do all of the rest of the steps is to have a good budget in place. And so today's exercise is going to be about budgeting. So in my Google Classroom, if you're one of my students, the assignment is basically going to be to help come up with a budget. Maybe your family already has a budget and you can go over that and see if there's adjustments. Maybe your family does not. Maybe you look at the type of budgeting you do. So we've talked about this in class, and I don't know how much you've talked to your parents, but the first thing you're going to do is decide how you want to do the budget. Do you want it to be in an app? And Rachel Cruz talks about an app that they have in her video. Maybe you want it to be the envelope system, probably the best hands-on system to get all your spending under control would be the envelope system. And we talked about that in class and how you keep cash in each envelope for each spending category. Maybe you want to take a spreadsheet and do your budget. That's how my husband and I do his budget. We're geeks, and so we like to write formulas and things like that anyways. So an Excel spreadsheet is right up our alley, but you could also do it in Google Sheets. So come up with a good way to do your budget. And we talked in class about a zero-based budget. So income minus expenses would be zero. You want to have every dollar going to work for you. If you have an inconsistent income, I can't really speak about that from experience because I've never really had a very inconsistent income. I usually had a consistent one. Even when I was in college, maybe it was consistent all of the time except for spring break. I would work 40 hours. So my inconsistent was always extra. It was never something that fluctuated a lot. And so I didn't really ever have an inconsistent income. Sometimes I just threw in some extra hours, but it wasn't anything I budgeted on. In Rachel Cruz's video, there are worksheets that you can link to, and you can see on how to deal with an inconsistent income. If you printed off this worksheets yesterday, you started with the $1,000 emergency fund, and today's show notes for Rachel can give you the one if you have an inconsistent income. So what you're going to do today is come up with either a spreadsheet or the envelopes. If you're just trying to categorize all of the things for your budget, you might want to come up with 3x5 cards or post-it notes and list each one as a different category. And that's what I explained in my Google Classroom. You're going to write income on separate ones. If there's two incomes, like my husband and I each have a job, we would each have our own post-it note, and I would write those in green. You know I love my 4-color pens. So then the other 3 colors of our pen we're going to use for the other categories that are all in the expense category. So I did fixed expenses with black ink. These are the ones that are the same every single month. It's your rent, it's your mortgage, it's your PYF and your savings goals, it's your giving and your charitable contributions. Don't forget to be giving even in these hard times. And if you're a student and you don't really have an income, give of yourself. Clean up the yard, help your mom with chores around the house, do something where you can help others. But if you're talking family budget, I encourage you to still give and be charitable. And when we reach step 7 of the baby steps, that's when you can just have a lot of fun giving and helping others. So black is our fixed expenses. We'll use our black ink pen. On the red, we will do our variable expenses. And I'm doing these in red for one reason. I want it to kind of be a warning sign that this is where we can make cuts. Our variable expenses are utilities, our gas, our groceries, and sometimes we buy things from the grocery store and we just buy the convenient packaging as opposed to doing things ourselves. Maybe we buy shredded cheese and we can buy a block of cheese. So I'm putting the variable expenses in red. Entertainment usually goes in red. And that is something that we could probably cut back on. Maybe cut out a trip through Starbucks every time we drive by it. Maybe not having Circle K Polar Pops every day on our way to school when we have school. So those I'm going to have in red would be our variable expenses. Gas, it varies. That's not something we can really control other than how much we drive. So those I put in red just because I want you to really, really think about those variable expenses. And then our periodic expenses I put in blue. These are our subscriptions. Maybe if you have your insurance as periodic, like every quarter or every half for life insurance, or maybe even car or property insurance, these things will be in blue. Get everything organized and then go to however you're going to do your budgeting, whether it's in a spreadsheet, maybe it's in a app, maybe it's the envelope system. And it's probably going to take you a few months to get this under control. A budget's something we're going to really try to stick to once we get it hammered out. But the first few months, it's going to take time to get it under control. So have fun, start budgeting, and give yourself a category that's just for you. Maybe it's your eat out budget and you'll actually have something budgeted for the month. Thank you.